Hello and welcome back to another episode of Not Just a Revenue. My name is Emily Nutley. I'm a money coach, financial strategist for neurodivergent business owners, and I am so happy that you are here with me today. I am taking a side step from business today, and I want to go back to my roots as a money coach. And my roots as a money coach was all about helping people that struggle with overspending. So, episode 24 is all about why you can't stop spending. And there's not necessarily going to be a massive neurodivergent lens, because I actually don't think a lot of the reasons or the main reasons why people do overspend is because of their neurodivergence. Caveat, I do think that the reasons why people overspend are made worse by their neurodivergence. And I will make that make sense. I had 3 reasons, and then I have a question at the end that I want you to write down. I want you to kind of practice saying it over and over and over again, because it is going to help you whenever you are in these moments of you are feeling like you are maybe spending too much money. I need you to define what spending too much money is. I need you to define overspending for yourself. Okay, and before you do that, I do not want you to pluck a number out of thin air and go, well, I should be able to, keep within X amount per month. That's not real life. It's not how we work. It's not how society works. What I want you to do, actually, this is what all my, today we started the stress-free summer sprint, and they're all doing this task today, and that's a financial audit. And that's essentially going back through 3 to 6 months worth of bank statements and working out what you actually spend your money on. And that's not only there for awareness, but it's also so that we can build averages on what you're spending money on, so that when we do build your financial plan, we're not basing it on numbers that we're pulling out of thin air. And that, yes, okay, the kind of big premise of that is so that we can have a revenue goal that works for you. But ultimately, it's also so that you are not trying to fit within limits that you were never supposed to live within. And actually, there's nothing wrong with spending the amount of money that you are spending, as long as you can plan and do all the other things that you want to do. And that's the most important thing, right? Is having that balance between the things that you want to do, the things that you want money to do for you, and the things that you are actually doing with your money. And that is the gap that we're trying to bridge here. So that's the first thing I want you to do, is I want you to actually define what is overspending. Okay? How do you define overspending? Okay, because if you don't have a tangible number that is like, okay, once I have spent, over this amount, or when I have spent for XYZ reason, that is when I'm going, okay, that was overspending, that was unaligned spending, that was unintentional spending, or whatever we want to call it. Just have that definition first before we get into it. Okay, so the main reason why we all overspend, and that is just because of the world that we live in, right? We live in a capitalist society, we live in a consumerist society. And a capitalist society is all about making money, okay? Capitalism is build, grow. Stock market is always going up and, all that jazz. And ultimately, how people make money is by getting other people to buy from them, to spend their money with them. And therefore, it's like the bartering, right? The original kind of trading of goods is, I have something that you want, and I'm going to take your money for that. And so what we see, and this is kind of like where the consumerism also comes into that, is everyone is selling you a solution to your problem. Everyone is selling you a solution to your problem. Your problems are painful. Okay, we are human beings. We have a very wide emotional breadth, and emotions and feelings are very strong, right? They are very strong chemical reactions within our bodies. And over the years, scientists, marketers have come together and worked out how we can trigger certain emotions and feelings and responses based on what you see. Okay, so the words that you read, the sound that you hear, the colors, literally everything. We know this as business owners as biopsychology, okay, sales psychology. But we are using it, okay, yes, we are using it to get clients. It does not make us unethical to be using information that is readily available to us to help us grow as business owners. What is unethical, in my opinion, is massive companies doing this on a huge worldwide global scale and preying after the most vulnerable. Obviously, that's a problem. But also the fact that these companies already have a lot of money. And it is that thing of it's all about growth. And in capitalism, there's no cap in capitalism. And the idea is that these companies just grow. And we've seen this, and I think we're starting to become aware of this, I think, as a society, especially in the UK with the whole water companies. So in the UK, our water companies were privatised. They were privatised, which means the companies don't have to operate in the public good. They have to operate in a way that makes money for their shareholders. How do they do that? Well, obviously, they can only make so much money, okay, because the government will kind of step in and go, hey, you can't really charge this much money. So there will be a limit in which they can charge people kind of per unit of water. So obviously they are capped within a certain regard of how much money they can make. So in order to generate more profits, what is another lever in business we can pull? If we cannot make any more, but we need to take home more, well, we reduce our expenses. And what that has looked like in recent years, especially for water companies, which I think is such a good example, is they just started doing plain straight up illegal shit and kind of covering it up by just dumping water waste into our rivers and our seas. And now we have cases of contamination in so many places around the English coast. And it's literally just because of water companies trying to cut back on spending so that they can make more money. So that is unarguably unethical, okay? But me and you, business owners, I very much doubt you're being unethical unless you're lying, right? The whole thing about the water company is they're just covering up. They're like, no, we're not doing that. This is silly. And obviously now loads of studies have come out and they're like, oh, we might have accidentally just let that one slide. It's no, you didn't let anything accidentally slide. You knew what you were doing. Anyway, gotta laugh, otherwise I'll cry. Capitalism and consumerism. So as a capitalist side of things, right, is that everyone is trying to sell us a solution. So of course, they are using our psychology, how our brain works against us to get us to spend money. Okay, we are human. Okay, in the great words of Rag and Bone Man, we are human after all. Yes, this is kind of happening to us. Now, we can become more and more discerning. And I think once you start to recognize certain capitalist behaviors, which, like I said, as a society, I think we are starting to get a bit more in tune to. But also the question that I'm going to share with you at the end of the episode of what you can kind of be asking yourself whenever you are making a purchase is going to help with that discernment. So the other side of that I mentioned is obviously consumerism. And this is just basically how much shit we buy. I'm wearing a shirt that I bought in Primark the other day. And I don't know how much it was, that's £3.50. I don't know, it's pink, it's cute, it says it looked like a cherry cola type thing. Did I need a new shirt? No. But I saw it, I liked it, I want it, I bought it. And especially where the price is so low. And this is consumerism, right? This is where we don't need something, but we buy it. Okay. And we just have so much. And also part of consumerism is trends. Right? We know that for hundreds of years, I mean, not literally hundreds, but it would take a good few decades for fashion to really start to change and to start to shift. But nowadays, fashion changes every season. So that's 4 times, what's a quarter? You get the spring summer collection, the autumn winter collection. We are getting new trends, new fashions. We are being told you need to buy new things because what you're wearing is out of fashion now. 4 times a year. 4 times a year. And you think about how many billions of people on this planet, how many millions of people live, let's just say just in the UK, for example. And we are all being told, oh, what you're wearing is now out of fashion and now you need this. This is the latest fashion. And obviously, yes, we're not all buying new things all the time. But where you have so many people being fed this narrative, there will, of course, be the knock-on effect of we're all buying shit we don't need. I think as well, we're seeing this a lot with TikTok, like TikTok Shop, Temu, Shein, like all of these kind of things. And I know TikTok Shop isn't just like Shein and Temu, but a lot of it is. But also like big brand names, like respected brand names, go onto TikTok Shop and they almost start behaving like these other companies. And there's a lot of discounts, there's a lot of affiliate sellers that are promoting their goods for them. And I think obviously companies have realised that we are more discerning with our purchases, and so we need someone like us to be selling us the product. So TikTok now, honestly, like it feels like I'm walking through a shopping centre and people are selling me things. Now, I don't necessarily dislike that. I'm a science psychology girly at heart. I love sales psychology. Like if someone's selling to me, I'm like, yes, girl, pop off queen, sell me your shit. Which is probably why I spend too much money. Okay, because I'm like, please, I'm asking to be susceptible to the sales psychology. But we do not need all this shit. How many of you, and I know this is me, are overwhelmed by your current living situation? How many of you are overwhelmed by how much stuff you have in your house? I am so overwhelmed. Me and my partner, I literally on Saturday was like, we're not going out today. We are organising our bedroom. The wardrobe was wardrobing, okay? Like, it was bad. I was like climbing over. I mean, that's a bit dramatic. I think I was climbing over because there was like a wash basket and like the laundry hadn't been put away. So I had to climb over the laundry basket to like get around to my side of the bed. But still, I was like, this is not a vibe. I don't want I don't want to live on a wardrobe anymore. Like, I want to be able to walk around to my side of the bed. I want to know like what clothes are clean, what clothes are dirty. And I don't want to live like this anymore. You know, I had the intervention. I was like, right, I'm going to pick everything up off the floor. I'm going to hoover the floor and then we're going to put all the stuff away. And we got rid of so much stuff. Because once you actually, we went through, we didn't just pick up the stuff that was on the floor. We also went through all of our drawers and our wardrobes and everything that we basically weren't going to wear anymore. And all of this to say, we threw away so much shit. There's now actually, the wardrobe has been replaced with a bin pile and a vintage pile. The vintage pile has gone into the wardrobe. So that's there. That's like hidden out of sight, out of mind. But the bin pile is loud and proud until bin day, which is Thursday. Hopes and prayers until Thursday, guys. But this is consumerism. We're just all the time we're told to buy things. And I think my main point with this is that so much of this is not our fault. Like, yes, okay, we can learn to become more discerning. But at the end of the day, these companies that are putting millions of pounds towards their marketing, and marketing is essentially using your psychology against you to get you to buy the thing, right? That's kind of what it is. So I want you to know that a lot of your overspending isn't necessary. It's not your fault, okay? There are things we can do to help it, and I'm going to teach you that at the end of this episode, but it's not your fault. Okay, point 2 is dopamine and dopamine chasing. Now, obviously, yes, this definitely applies more to my neurodivergent girlies, especially my ADHD girlies, because, and this is what I mean by, this will affect everyone, but it will be worse for ADHDers. And basically, obviously, dopamine is this chemical, hormone, whatever you want to call it, in our body, and it's more the desire than the actual experiencing of the thing. It's why usually the excitement of buying something is better than when you actually get the thing. And I think that as well, like the anticipation is where you actually release dopamine, not when the thing actually arrives. Okay, so when I do this all the time now, like I will do an online shop. Like I literally was browsing the Next website last night because I saw someone on TikTok start talking about how like the clothes index this season is banging. So I was like, let me have a little look. I was there, added a good few £100 worth of stuff to my basket. That was the dopamine. That was me chasing the dopamine. Having this awareness, and over time you will get better at this, is learning that actually it is that anticipation that is where the dopamine is released and not in the actual getting of the thing. Now, what would have happened is, yes, okay, I would have bought the thing. Immediately, dopamine's kind of gone, right? Because there's nothing happening between pressing purchase and the parcel arriving. There probably would have been another dopamine spike when the parcel arrived to me and like opening it and getting everything out. And then immediately dopamine would have crashed when I started trying things on and was slightly disappointed in how they didn't fit me exactly how I wanted. I didn't look like the model and like all these other things, which again, lots more to come on that at the end of the episode. But it's just chasing this dopamine and recognizing that actually the dopamine comes before the thing. So by all means, go and chase that dopamine, but you do not need to click purchase to actually get it. Okay? And it's finding other things as well where we can get that dopamine. If we recognize that we do spend a lot of money with dopamine, it's, again, the question at the end is going to help so much with this, but like recognizing what it actually is that we're looking for. Like, what is it that we're actually, our body is needing in this moment? But we have to kind of learn to ask ourselves, and to pause and to have that moment, okay, what do I actually need right now? And if the answer equals spending money, that's not a problem. Just because you've spent money in order to get a dopamine hit is not a bad thing. When we're doing it over and over again, we can't stop and we are actively overspending and we are getting into, problem debt. Now the dopamine spending is a problem. But until that point, it's just like okay, I recognize this and I recognize this is just filling my house of shit. And so actually I do need to like get slightly better with managing. The other thing I wanted to say with dopamine is when we are under prolonged stress, it could be financial stress, it could be, health stress, like any type of stress, okay? When we are under stress, our dopamine baseline in our bodies drops, okay? And what happens is our body is constantly trying to get back to homeostasis, which is like kind of like net zero, right? Our body is constantly trying to get back to net zero, whatever that might be, of dopamine. And if our current dopamine levels are below what is our set point, oh girl, your brain, your body is just going to try so hard to get this back up. And how it's going to do that is that this is the chasing dopamine. It's going to go, I need it, I need it, I need it, I need it, I need it. And what will happen is you'll keep getting that spike and it'll keep coming back down. And gradually it'll get closer and closer until you're back there. That's what your body is trying to do, okay? So again, having this awareness means that maybe when you are noticing that you're under stress, and maybe when you notice that you are overspending or dopamine seeking spending, when you are feeling under stress, you can identify, okay, this is because I've been under stress. Clearly I am in need of some dopamine. Then we can think, where else can I get dopamine? Where else can I get dopamine outside of buying new things? Or when I'm buying the things, can I be really intentional to make sure that this is actually going to give me the dopamine hit that I want it to? Okay, so that is on dopamine. The last point, my point number 3, and this is the most important reason why you cannot stop spending. And this is, I honestly, all of the others, the previous 2, also come into this point, and that is identity spending. So what is identity spending, Emily? Basically, it is spending money to become like someone else, to feel like a better person. It's all about us as the individual and how we feel and our status. Now, status and identity are huge for human survival, okay? Back in the day, like last Tuesday, back in, caveman dwelling days, our primal brain, how it was built, is to fit in, okay? Fitting in is a survival mechanism, okay? We were part of tribes. If you were not part of the tribe, you starved, you died, okay? We had to fit in, we had to be part of the tribe. So our status and our identity and being fit-inable matters, okay, to our survival. Now again, because we live in a capitalist consumerist society, there is so much more now that we need to buy into in order to fit in. I feel like this isn't like loud and proud. People maybe don't notice this one as much because it is so innate, but people are using it when I say people, companies are using it in their marketing, in their sales psychology. And we as business owners also, when we are teaching people sales psychology and how to, their messaging points, ultimately we are, one of the questions you're going to be asking is, who does your client want to become? What does their life look like after they have done this service, after they have purchased this thing? That is, we are tapping into their identity, their status. Who do they want to be? What do they want their life to look like? Because that is so key and so vital to how we as humans make buying decisions. But if you do not have a locked in version of your identity, of your personal being, of your just who you are as a person, then you will just strive to be like others. And when we are striving to be like others, we are going to buy things that others have, or what we think others have, or how other people live their lives. This is massive. This is the middle class in a nutshell. Can't remember the exact phrasing, but there's this phrasing around being middle class, and that is that the upper classes, right, they are asset rich. Okay? They're asset rich and they're cash rich. Then you've got the kind of lower classes who are asset poor, cash poor. And you've got the middle classes. And the middle classes are asset poor, cash, not necessarily, but cash rich. And what that means is they're not actually going to grow anything over time. Probably middle classes tend to stay pretty much. If you're a middle class family, you'll probably just stay a middle class family unless you start actively growing assets. And this is where, and lower classes, they become asset poor and cash poor because they are trying so hard to be like the middle classes, who are the majority, who are trying to look like the upper classes. So one really good example of this is clothing. Okay? Who are the people you see wearing designer brands? Like the names. Okay? Who are out there with the branded clothing. Okay? I think you can think of two types of people, and I bet you they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. As a reason, people at the bottom try to look at people at the top because they're trying to fit in. Okay? Then there's also cars. Cars are such a good example, okay, of buying. Yes, of course, there is a case for buying a car on finance if you literally need a car and you literally do not have the cash to do it. Okay, yes, you might buy a car on finance. But so often what we actually see is people buying cars on finance because they want a car that they cannot afford, because they want to look like, they want to be perceived as. They want to be perceived as someone different, something different than who they are. Now, this is why identity work is so important, and getting really kind of clued into who you are and what you truly want from this world and from your life is going to help massively, because otherwise you are just going to be striving to be something that you are not. And that's difficult. And I think a really big example of that, as an example in my own life, okay, I'll use an example in my own life, is I've struggled with my weight my entire life. Like since I was, I think 7, 8 is when you can see in pictures there's quite a dramatic jump in my weight. And so I have spent so much money over the years in things like gym memberships, gym equipment, athletic clothing, personal trainers, nutritionists. I did a year on Manjaro, but also the types of clothing that I would buy, or just there is a want to be a certain size or a certain type, and that ultimately comes down to what I perceive other people's opinion of me as. Now, I have done a lot of work over time. I don't care what other people think of me now. Like, that is just something that I have done the work on, and I don't really care. Now, there is another level of that, of like, of course, I want to feel more comfortable in my body. And I noticed that, you know, when I was a smaller size than what I am now, I felt more comfortable. So yes, of course, I will probably go and do those things again and spend that money again to get to where I want to be. But it has now become less about what other people think of me and more about how comfortable I feel. And that is such a key distinction. Because when I was in my early mid-20s, everything I did around my weight was based off of how attractive I thought I then was. So I had been chronically single. I'd never had a boyfriend my entire life. I'd had a few like flings. I went through the obligatory hoe phase. But ultimately, I met my partner when I was 25. And before then, I'd never had a boyfriend. Like I said, I'd done the deed. I'd like But not until I actually think, I don't know if this is a TMI now, but I think it wasn't until my early 20s that I actually started being with people. And that is because I had almost done some of the work, not all of the work, but some of the work to be like, no, like I had not done the work to be like, other people want to be with me. I did not believe that other people wanted to be with me. So what looked like 5 years of being on dating apps and failing, and being on dating apps for so long that you become a moderator on them. Anyone else? Anyone else? To go from that to actually letting someone in was more to do with how I perceived myself. And that was all identity. It was all identity. Okay. So those are very specific examples, like love, dating, weight, attractiveness, like yes. But there are also things like how I want other people to perceive me. And I think, again, like right now I'm in my office. My office is currently the trash room. Okay, like as in downstairs we've gotten on top of, like I think we are just naturally messy people. So it takes quite a lot of effort to like tidy and organize, but we have done the work. We have done the work downstairs. We have done the work in our bedroom, our toddler's bedroom. Like we are good, except the office. The office is the next like room, okay? But what that means is I am not going to show up online. My background is blurred. I am not going to record videos. Like my social media, my business is struggling because of how I perceive like what people will think when they see my messy background. You know, now everyone else will probably be like, girl, like same, like actually I prefer to see people's like houses, like real houses, like lived in houses than anything else. But we don't tell ourselves that. Like, we are always going to be to playing it safe and be on the negative side and be like, okay, but what do I need to do to make sure that people will like me? Okay, so I want you to think about some questions on the identity side of things. I want you to think about who you want to be, like truly who you want to be. This is a journaling exercise, okay? What do you actually want your life to look like? How do you want to be perceived? And how is that different to maybe where you think you're at now? And then also, if you do have a partner, if you have friends, maybe ask them, like, how do you see me? Like, do you see me in this, 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 and this? Because you might actually be a lot closer to your like desired perceived state than you think. And the other thing to ask is then, is that yours? Is that your desire to live like that? Or is that someone else's? Is that like you have been told you should live like that by society, by media, by the education system, by your caregivers? It's like when we talk about financial shame, we often in kind of money coaching words go, whose shame is this? Okay, whose shame is this? Does it need to be your shame? Like a lot of my clients who are in debt, and I talk about, well, actually, like, you've been preyed upon for XYZ reason. I'm like, it's not your shame to carry, okay? So is it yours or is it someone else's? And the last thing I'm going to end on and leave you with is this question that I want you to write down. I want you to make a note of. I want you to put it on a post-it note and put it like on your computer screen, like wherever you are when you purchase a lot of things. Like, I want you to like really make a note of this statement. And that is, what are you telling yourself this purchase will do for you? Or how will it make things better? Basically, what are the stories? What are the things that you are telling yourself about the thing you are buying or wanting to buy? And what does that mean? How will it make things better? How will it make things easier? Okay, and just to give you a little example based on my next purchase, I didn't purchase, but my next little shop last night is I went to go and have a look because I'm telling myself, you're going on holiday in 2 weeks and you have no nice summer clothing. That is what I'm telling myself. Now, I went through my wardrobe the other day and was like, actually, I'm fine. I've got plenty. I'm good. But this narrative is still kind of in the background. It's getting quieter now that I've literally been through my entire wardrobe, but it's still there. And so I was like, well, let me just go have a look because you never know. There might be some things there. And so I go on, I go in the sales section, I go in the home section, I'm adding things to my basket. As I'm adding things to my basket, there'll be like shorts. I'm like, well, I don't have many shorts and those are pretty and I add them. Dresses, that dress, like, there was one, it was like green and pink. I was like, immediately, I was like, fell in love, like, yes, get in my basket. And so there were different things. And I'm looking at clothing for my son and shoes. And I'm thinking, well, his feet grow and he's 11 now. So he's getting 11 and a half. And actually, he's only got one pair of shoes that fit him right now. I should probably get him a second pair of shoes. So I'm adding all these things to my basket. And then what I do after that is I go back to my basket. And I go back to my basket with a more realistic lens, the grown-up, the money coaching hat comes on. And I go through and let's go to the shorts, right? The shorts that were like, they were on sale and they were colourful and stripy, right? And I looked at them and immediately went, Emily, you're not going to wear them. You're not going to wear them. You do have shorts. Okay, you do have shorts. So I was like, right, okay, get rid of that from my basket. Now the dress, I won't lie, did love, but it was unavailable in my size. When I added it to my basket, it said unavailable. Sad, I moved it back into my wish list, okay? Moving back to the wish list. Then I was going through all the things that I was looking at for Jim, and I was like, actually, I went through his wardrobe dividend. He doesn't need anything either. Like, okay, shoes. Does he need Chanel shoes? I'm like, yeah, it would be helpful, but he doesn't need like £30 shoes because his feet growing all the fucking time. Maybe I should just go and look on Vinted. Okay, if he needs new shoes, I'll just go look on Vinted. So I closed it. Gone. All of it, gone. And that is because I had practiced this time and time again. Obviously, I've been doing this work for 6 years. So it does take time, and you will not be perfect all the time because we are human. We have emotions, we have feelings, we feel different things more strongly. We tell ourselves different things about things. So much vagaries. But you know what I mean? So what are you telling yourself about this purchase? What this purchase will do for you, or how it will make things better? Okay, what are you telling yourself? Okay, and then I want you to query it, to question it, and you will get better at this over time. Make a note of it just because it is easier to have it down somewhere that you can see whenever you do go and make a purchase. But also it will now, because you've listened to this episode, probably just sit in your mind. So that is why you can't stop spending and how you can start to get a little bit more control over that spending. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next one.